Welcome everyone to the Mastermind Book Club. Tonight we're going over a very important book, a book that has been referred to us by Reggie Hilliard. Reggie has given us immense books in the last several weeks, and this book has impacted me. I hope it impacts you as much as it impacts me. It's called Atomic Habits, and the author is James Clear. Before I have the members talk, I just wanted to say that there were two things that impacted me the most when I listened to this book.
There's a lot of noise in the background.
Yeah, sorry about that. Let me try and minimize that. So two things that impacted me on this book. Number one is we are attempting to be artists, creating a song. But the reality is that as we're creating this song, we forget that in order to become successful in the song, you have to repeat it so many times that you become bored of the song. Did you know that?
Yeah.
And that boredom of that song is where most people bail out. While you're bored, I'm bored of the song. We bail out, but everybody else wants to listen to it. What am I trying to say here? The author says clearly that we have to embrace boredom in order to be able to succeed. We have to be consistent, and that consistency is only found in boredom, in repetition, in doing the things that we get bored of. The routines on a daily basis, the habits on a daily basis, eating healthy on a daily basis, waking up at a certain time on a daily basis, and so on. That is very, very powerful. I don't know how it impacted you, but it impacted me in the sense that I've been putting out videos out there, and I haven't reached the goal that I want to yet. But in my boredom, it's like quotes, in my boredom, in the repetition, in the ways and means of attempting to have others succeed better than I have to continue the process, because if I don't, then I will fail. I hope that you find clarity in what I'm saying. And if you don't, you can always send me a message and we can go over it. But this book explains it so well. James Clear is awesome at explaining what boredom is. But not only that, he tells us that in order to build a habit, all you have to do is do it 1 minute a day. And the only person that I've heard mention that in the group, and I've mentioned and I've repeated it, is Gina. Gina is in this group. And she said, why don't you try meditation for 1 minute a day? And she said it a few different ways in the group. I don't know if each and every of one of the mentors that's listening right now has tried it, but the reality is that why not? 1 minute a day. I've had struggles attempting to meditate consistently, and I need to get going. I need to get going before it's too late. Now that I've given you my 2 minutes of what I thought my review was, I'd like to listen to each and every one of you, and I'd like to hand over to one of you to take over so that I can listen to the comments of each and every one of you. Any one of you want to take over and be the leader for the group, the host?
I'll take it if someone takes it.
Yay. So there he is. So Reggie, it's all yours. I'm assigning, I'll be here. I'm going to be listening.
It's all good, man. All good. All good in the
All right. Great. So it's all yours.
All right, everyone. We're going to continue this wonderful discussion about atomic habits. And I invite anyone to start. Anyone who's up. Don't be afraid. No one bites here.
I can say something. I didn't read the whole book. I just start from the beginning, and for me it was a lot of good tips in life, and I catch a lot of whatever I was listening about the James Clear and about habits, and he says only 1% get better every day in life. who can create a good habits and change the bad habit for good habits that he was talking about. And you want to be successful in that life and you want to change your life, you have to start for something. And I think this is the best way to start. Like in one day or 1 minute, like David was saying, and to change your life. He was talking, he say every action you take is reflection of what type of person you want to be. And this is the truth. Everything you have at work or at home, everywhere you're going, influence your behavior, and you can have a restriction physical environment, and then more likely to actually stick with the right habits. He's talking about not get too much distraction, everything you have around at home or work to distract you for a good habits is another thing he was talking about. He says something about the catch my attention, the habits is we need energy, and we need energy in our body for a lot of issues. And then he said the way to save our energy coming for the food, and our body need this all the time to function, to metabolism function. So our brain need to save energy. The only way we can save energy is a good way is to have a habits. Habit is something like you do a regular. Take a shower, brush your teeth, get dressed. So this is save energy for our brain, and we use the energy in intelligent way to use it for important things in our body, like a heart beating, like a breathe, like a function, metabolism function in our system. And that's he say the habit is a great use to save the energy, mental. He said we need energy to function mentally, physical, and in different situations. And this is one of the best way. He say have 4 stage, and the first stage is cue, respond, and reward. And no, it's 3 stage: cue, respond, and reward. Breaking the bad habits to yourself is you need something new, you need something in your life, you need something better for you and for yourself. Is the way you breaking the bad habits. And as a lot of information to achieve your goals, to change focus, change your habits, goal restrict happiness, and the stuff to improvement. Doing you see you improve yourself like every day 1%. After a year, you finally you're gonna have a great setting goals, and you have a focus great system for habits. Is something he was talking about in the book. And I pass to somebody else. That's what I have to say.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
That was really good. Thank you very much for the share.
Thank you, guys.
Gina, you want to take over?
Trying to put me on the spot like that, Charles.
You want me to go? I'll go. I mean, I figure we get the ladies go first.
I'm just teasing. Thank you. I found the book very fascinating, just like all the other books that we have read before. And this one, I guess, kind of like touches on some of the things that, we have read, creating, like Martha said, and by the way, that was a very good, summary of the book already. If you haven't even read the whole thing, that's pretty much a good summary of it. Yeah. And Yeah, just doing things in increment, establishing good habits, and then moving from there. It seems like he's saying that goals, habits are kind of like, or system, I should say rather, are just as important or more important than establishing goals, because we can say we want to do this and that and the other, but unless we set up a system whereby to accomplish it, then they will just kind of be like dreams that we have, rather than like a mode for getting to those dreams. So that's what overall I have got from the book so far, and I'm up to like chapter 9, 10, and yeah, I guess that's what I want to share with the group right now. Thanks, Charles.
Thank you, Gina. Gave me a couple minutes to put my thoughts together. So I too enjoyed the book by James Clear, Atomic Habits. I enjoyed the story, of course, of the biking crew that was around since, I believe it was the English biking crew, 1903 or so, and they never won any of the events that they participated, not in the Olympics or the Tour de France. But I believe it was in I forget the exact date, but he said like 1960 something, they got a new coach. And the new coach, he decided to focus on what was actually small habits that they could change. So he started with them just getting more rest, getting 8 hours of rest a day. He started, working with them, just maybe doing a little bit of exercising. Then he looked at their bikes, and he started making the bikes a little bit better. And he just kept doing little things. And sure enough, over a period of time, the group that never won became the champions. And they didn't just become champions one year. They became champions like 6 years in a row, winning everything, the Tour de France, the Olympics, and everything else. So, like he was saying, it's not the big decisions or the big things we want to do to make a habit. Sometimes it's just tweaking the little things in our lives and doing those continually. He gave an example of, if you like have a habit that you improve every day, just 1% of that habit, by the end of the year, you'll be at 37% better. Whereas if you don't do that habit, you'll be close to zero. You'll be close to empty. And I thought of that with a lot of things in my life, how, with different business, different goals, how you don't practice it every day, and then you wonder why things are not getting better. So I took that into consideration, and just noticing and mapping and keeping track of what you're doing was essential. He talked about implementation, initiation, tracking how you exercise, sort of like they did with the biking group, just keeping a record, and checking off either in a diary or on a calendar that every day you're doing something towards that habit or that goal. So that's giving you a reward. I also talked about the visual cues. So if you want to learn to play guitar, you put the guitar in a room, like right in the middle of the room where you're going to see it all the time. And if you want to exercise more, they say pack a bag and put that bag in the front seat of your car. So every time you get in your car, it's like a mental picture or visual picture, a visual clue where hey, I'm going to go exercise today. And I kind of do that with like drinking waters. If you were in my room here, and every 4 corners of the room is water. And I got it from a movie, actually, where the guy was doing setups, and that's what he called it. He set up water at each place in the room. And I copied that, but that's one of the things he talked about in the book, that if you can see it, just being able to grab the bottle and, instead of going to where I keep all the water, I have it placed all over the room, and I just grab one and drink it. Let's see what else was really awesome that they talked about. Uh, temptation bundling. So you tie a habit to something that's pleasurable. So like for me, this every Tuesday is tied to me having a feeling of accomplishment that I've learned something. So I always go back. I take plenty of notes of all the stuff that we go through, and I go back through them during the course of the week and just say, oh wow, I got through this many books, or that's really, making me want to keep doing it. That we're getting through the books. I'm learning things about myself. So that's an awesome thing. And like I said, riding a bike, you tie that to riding your exercise bike. Maybe you watch Netflix while you watch it, or walking a treadmill like they do in the gyms. They have the TVs on, and you're looking at the TV, you're not really paying attention. You're just doing your exercise, and boom, your 30 minutes is over, and it wasn't a big stressor to you. And then last thing I'm gonna talk about is the short-term pleasures versus the long-term pains. Short-term pleasures, so like if you eat, I think you mentioned pizza every day. You eat pizza every day, you know, eventually it's going to make you fat. Whereas if you eat fruits and vegetables, it might not taste as great as pizza with that delicious cheese and delicious sauce and delicious meat all over it. Pizza. Don't let me stop. But eating the vegetables, you know, might not taste, a carrot or a celery stick. It's not pizza, but eating carrots and celery uh, over the long term will cause you to lose weight. So short term pleasure versus long term pain, and then short term pain versus long term pleasure. So a lot that the pain would be to eat the carrots and the celery, and the pleasure would be, at the end of a certain period of time, you'll look fabulous, losing the weight that you want. Versus the pizza, it's delicious, the cheese, the sauce, but you'll be big as a house. So, so that's a thing that I stood out. And I spoke about tracking your progress. Uh,
Mhm.
uh, that's about it for me for right now. There's a couple other things I probably want to talk about, but I'm gonna hand it back over to Reggie for right now. That I covered pretty much everything I want to say. Reggie.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the good information and the good um, delivery of what this book was about, and everyone's own words, and sharing at least a part of it. Obviously, we each kind of give a little bit of something. Sometimes we overlap in some of the material and speaking about what the books are about. In this case, what this particular book is about, but we definitely are able to hit a lot of the good points, and we are able to help each other through it in terms of maybe our own interpretation, or if even not that, just to even share, and just to help each other to take in what this book is about. And that's definitely always good. As well, I can offer a few points about the book, and I'll start by saying about just these habits in general. I mean, so the point of these books obviously is for us to grow and to learn, and most of the books that we do are self-help. The point of this book is definitely a self-help oriented book, and the goal of this book obviously would be for us to learn and to grow. And so as much as we can do that, is as much as we'll be able to see some changes happen in our own lives. And that's the goal, is to make those changes and make those steps, to take those leaps. And this particular book talks about habits that we can implement, that's going to allow us to make those strides. And if we can look at our own situations, and we can see what we're doing currently and what things need to change. And the most important thing is that if we will focus on the things that we need to do, and less about the things that we don't need to do or shouldn't be doing, that could at least be the starting point. And as the book talked about, there's ways in which you can go about these habits, because a lot of us, we know that these things are not always so fun, and they're not always so easy, and they're not always the things that we choose to do. It's a lot easier to sit on the couch or sit on the bed or whatever, or sit on the floor, wherever we choose to sit, and sit in there and watch TV, because there's an immediate reward of, just, we'll call it reward of the entertainment if we're watching TV. If we're sitting at the table, there's an immediate reward of just sitting there. If we want to just chow down on some food, some snacks, whatever, some junk food or whatever, and we can just do that all day, or things of that nature. And there's an immediate reward of, just like I said, from the entertainment value of the TV, or if we're sitting there, pressing on our phones and looking at different things there. So yeah, there's some type of reward, but the habit of that is not going to benefit us long term. So we know that, in order for us to make some changes, we have to focus on some habits, some key habits that are going to drive us, that are going to get us from where we are to where we're choosing to go. And that's something that, yes, it could be tricky, it could be tough, it could be a work, it could be whatever, right? But as the book talks about, as I mentioned, is to kind of try to make them as best we can, in terms of making them easier, making them things that we feel good doing, right? And we can do that in a number of different ways. Maybe we tie something to it, as Charles mentioned, where we can, if we're exercising, we might, keep our the TV there and watch a show, right? Maybe that's the easy way initially, right? Maybe if we're we're gonna read a book, we could say, well, after I read this book, I'm gonna go and have a little bit of ice cream, or I don't know, like just something along the way that's gonna help. But the goal ultimately is to do these habits, because the only way we're gonna get to the point where we can actually build and grow and fulfill certain desires and goals and dreams that we have, is that we have to set up a program, and that program is going to require us to do some work. And it talked about the difference between motion and action. So motion could be, I'm gonna go get ready for, I'm gonna read these books because I want to get smarter, right? You just say, I'm going to do something. I'm gonna lose this weight because I want to be smaller. I'm gonna, go back to school to get an additional degree. That's the motion. That's just like the talk. That's the motion of, that's the actual, just the saying of the things that doesn't actually do anything for you. But what we need to do is we need to be in action. So instead of the motion part of just, making a statement or writing something down about, what you intend to do, the motion is you actually, get on the floor and do some push-ups, to help lose weight. You actually, stop, you eat a little bit less, each portion of food that you eat to lose weight. You can just enroll in a class, right? Going back to school, you actually enroll in the class, right? If you're going to read the book, you actually pick up the book and you actually read it. So these are things that are action steps that we can take. And as we begin to do these things, they start to move us forward in the true sense motion. We start to move forward, and it's gradual. Maybe, we talk about things like the 1% gain that you do each day, the one page of a book that you read, the 1, 2 or 5 push-ups you do a day, the half a block that you walk, all of those little things. We talked about the 1 minute of doing something, like a couple minutes meditation. I know I also mentioned the book 120 seconds, but just do something for even just that couple minutes or whatever it is, and then stop, right? And then, like you go to the gym and you like, each time I go to the gym, I'm going to go every day, but I'm just going to work out for 3 minutes or 5 minutes. And then as you keep doing it, you're like, well, since I'm doing this 1 minute or 2 minutes, I might as well just do a little bit more, right? And the key thing, again, here is for us to do and focus on habits that are going to change our lives, to move us to a place that we desire to be, and not to just have us saying these things and dreaming these things and talking this stuff so much so that we're, as they say, blue in the face, because we actually want to see the manifestations of the actions that we're taking. And if we actually take the actions, we will actually see those things manifest. And that's just simply how it works, right? So, I understand like some of these things could be difficult, as I mentioned, and sometimes you don't want to do it. And sometimes you make excuses, and sometimes, it's too, you feel it's too cold, it's too hot, it's, I'm too tired, right? All these types of things. But the thing about it is that it's something that we just have to do, right? Something that we just have to do. And if we don't do it, then we don't get the return. And if we do it, over time, we'll begin to see the return. And that's worth it, because, maybe like right now, some of the things we do that we decide are in our best interest, but may not be actually like this immediate reward and gratification of it. That could be the thing that is just sort of like actually wasting your time. And then ultimately over time, and not even just wasting your time, it could be, smoking a cigarette where you need the nicotine or whatever to calm your nerves, and you think that's okay, or you eat, the extra piece of cake right now, and or you waste time and you sit in front of the TV right now, and you're not doing what you need to do. So right now there's a sort of gratification and what you think is a reward in the immediacy, but if you keep doing that, it accumulates, right? So we have to be very careful of that accumulative effect, because the accumulation of those types of habits or those types of things that we do is not what we want. We want to do things that over time, the accumulation of the steps that we're taking, the moves that we're making, is going to show a good return, so that we have like a bigger bank account, or we paid off some bills, right? Or we paid off all of our debt, or we've lost a certain amount of weight if that's our desire, or you're just overall more fitter, right? Just the things that could actually prove to be worthwhile in our lives, and helps us to reach a destination that that we can feel proud about, that we can feel good about, right? So that's the key behind these habits. Like the key is really about stringing together, doing these things that will benefit us in the long term, and being able to weather the time that it takes to get there. And it talks about, the fact is that it's not necessarily even about the number of days you do it, but it's like the number of times you do it, right? Because you can actually become, or make a habit in a sense happen that much sooner if you actually even just start doing it more often, like more times in a day, right? Just so like you put that thing in your head that this is something that is part of your schedule. And as you make it more a part of your schedule, then ultimately it's gonna be the thing that's cemented in your brain, that is something you have to do, and you'll just end up doing it. So this is the thing that we're trying to come away with, this understanding that habits, and especially good habits, and especially these types of habits, that if we build them, that we can really create a rewarding life for ourselves in many different aspects. And so it's kind of like what Gina was saying, like we're learning this information, and she implored us to kind of to basically really take what we've gotten this far, and to really start using it. And this book, I think, is very valuable, because I can say even ahead of it, I was actually creating these types of habits, whereas I work out every single day to some degree. It's very similar workout, but actually even just around this book, and even not even because of this book, I'm doing these workouts, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do 50% of whatever I'm doing, at least one of the exercises. So every day I do at least 100 push-ups, sit-ups, squats, dips, and these types of things. And I'm like, all right, I'll do at least 50% more of one, right? And then I have this habit of sending out these quotes every day for 5.5 years, Monday through Friday. And I'm like, okay, I'm doing that. Like, what more can I do, right? So, and there's a return that you can't even measure with that, but it at least gets you going. And once you start these habits, it makes it such that the next habit is a little easier, because you've already established a certain type of paradigm, a certain type of way. And then you do the next habit and the next habit. And then like, okay, some days, you don't want to do this thing or whatever, because even like some days I don't want to send out these quotes, which I don't even really have to per se. I mean, I send out a couple hundred texts a day, but I've made it a must, right? So it's become almost like a law unto itself. Whereas that's kind of how I state it to people, is the habit should be such that it's like an immutable law, like a law that is unbreakable, that you establish for yourself. Like we're nature, we come from nature, and we can be what nature is, and creating their own type of laws that we can't break. Kind of like some laws that exist in nature, like gravity. You jump off a building, you're going down. So we can be gravity. We're not to say make ourselves go down, but in a sense where we define these things in our lives, and we cannot not do them. We have to do them, right? So this is like something that I talk to people about, is creating these laws, right? And this is what habits are. But except we want to make them good laws for ourselves, that even though they may not always be the ones and things that we want to do, but it's a must that we do them. And over time, we'll begin to see the reflection of what those laws have done for us. Just the fact that we follow them, right, every single day, or how often we choose to do it, that it becomes some level of a habit. So that's what I'll speak to. I mean, just in saying it in my own words. just to really take this stuff in and basically realizing the return that you can get and really, really, really seeing it for yourself and having a projection into your own future, that if you do the things that you're supposed to do, that you can see the type of vision, that's inside come outside, right? So that's really something we can hopefully all take away from this, because it's up to us and no one else is going to do it for us. But I really implore us all to start really putting together these habits, because we're not reading these books for nothing, or they're definitely valuable books. There's so much meat and substance in these books. And if we can actually take even a certain amount of it, it doesn't have to be all of it, but things like employing good habits, doing that one thing that could be the catalyst, the first habit that could then start you on to doing other habits that can then revolutionize and change your life drastically. So this is what I think if we can all just even elect to do that one thing, and then to start to do more things, then we can come back, we can have something to report to each other, how we've seen a major transformation in our lives, and we can share that with each other. So let's all do that as best we can. So I don't know if Dave is still around, but
Awesome.
he controls the video,
Hey guys.
the audio to shut this off.
I'd like to end this Mastermind Book Club with saying you guys did awesome. That was an awesome review. You barely overlapped, and you said a lot of awesome things. I hope that whoever listens to this video gains some of this knowledge and utilizes it. But I also want to tell you that being part of the Mastermind Book Club itself, just like I believe Charles said, and Gina, I believe, hinted at it. I remember if Reggie did and Martha, but being part of this mastermind has made us build a habit, as a fellow member said, that the reality is we are building a habit to learn, to grow, to evolve, to change. And let's keep it going. We know that it's becoming a little bit of a routine, that consistency, but it's also within that boredom that you can find success. All right, so this is the Mastermind Book Club signing off. Have a great evening, everyone. Until next week.